this land detail. Now my name did the documents like this. Look at my documents.
But this land has always been my own land. I've known this land. I've had this land for a while now. It is mine.
Land dispute is as old as civilization itself. From building collapse to authorized demolition, boundary disputes, and even encroachments by real estate developers. The good news is that you can avoid these property issues and harness opportunities in the housing sector with the right information. Join us as we discuss everything real estate and the construction industry on the program Property Talk.
Airing live every Monday at 12:30 p.m. on
Armed Forces Radio 107.7 FM, Abuja. Property Talk is proudly brought to you by WORIN Nigeria. Don't miss it.
Hello, Abuja. Good afternoon and welcome to another exciting time on radio. It's time for your favorite show on radio, Property Talk, brought to you by WORIN Nigeria. And of course, as you know, we are live every Monday at 12:30 p.m. here on the Mogadishu Hill, Armed Forces Radio 107.7 Abuja. And like you know, every Monday we are here with exciting episodes. And today we are here to deepen the conversation we had last week, which is challenges artisans and professionals face on construction sites. And today we are trying to explore real experiences and real solutions. It's going to be an exciting time because we have a very, very full studio today. We have 3 guests in the house, which is a blessing to us. We have an engineer, we have the decorator. I think he prefers to call himself a decorator. And then we have a POP person still in the house. So it's going to be exciting. We're going to be looking at challenges that artisans and professionals face. And like you know, WORIN Nigeria is your go-to platform for professionals and artisans in the construction industry, right? Just to curb the challenge of where to get vetted and, qualified artisans and professionals. WORIN Nigeria is your go-to site, right? Not to take much of your time, we'll dive straight into the conversation. Like I said, we have 3 of them in the building today, and they are pumped up, ready to dish out information today and just get us enlightened still on the show. We have first Mr. Monday Fregene in the building. I hope I mentioned that name correctly, Monday Fregene. Good to have you in the house today. We have Mr. John Pete Yisheng Global Services Limited. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you.
I thought to ask if Yisheng is a Chinese name. It sounds like Chinese.
It's a native name.
It's a native name. Okay, somewhere Southern Kaduna or Jos? Southern Kaduna. Good to have you in the house today. And then we have Engineer Theophilus. I prefer not to call the other name. Engineer Theophilus, it's good to have you in the house.
Thank you so much.
He's the founder and lead engineer at Wise Master Builders Engineering Limited. Good to have you in the house, Engineer Theophilus.
Thank you so much.
Well, before we delve into the conversation, I would like us to listen to this sing tune one more time. We'll be right back.
It's not yours. Look at my documents here to prove that it is mine. This land is not your own, no. Oga, you better go and look for your own land. See my own document here. I don't pay for this land detail. Now my name did the documents like this. Look at my documents.
But this land has always been my own land. I've known this land. I've had this land for a while now. It is mine.
Land dispute is as old as civilization itself. From building collapse to authorized demolition, boundary disputes, and even encroachments by real estate developers. The good news is that you can avoid these property issues and harness opportunities in the housing sector with the right information. Join us as we discuss everything real estate and the construction industry on the program Property Talk.
Airing live every Monday at 12:30 p.m. on
Armed Forces Radio 107.7 FM, Abuja. Property Talk is proudly brought to you by WORIN Nigeria. Don't miss it.
All right, welcome back, listeners. Like I said earlier, we are in the studio with...
And I'm a civil engineer by training and by practice. Yeah. I'm the lead engineer and the founder of Wise Master Builders Engineering Limited and a co-founder of Varacrest Limited. And my journey started even before school. I mentioned here last time that I began as an artisan inside, first as a carpenter on site. Then at some point, first as a labor, like literal labor, if you know what that means. Then became a carpenter at a point. Then went into glass windows and the likes. And before then, I went to school, then studied civil engineering. And then I've worked with a couple of firms ever since graduation. And I now lead my own work. Thank you so much.
Good to have you in the house.
Yes, sir.
Part of the things I want to comment on is your size. Right, I wanted to ask, if you've done all these jobs, what happened to the size? How come it did not affect your...
It's not by power, nor by might.
Thank you so much, sir, for that
Thank you so
introduction.
much.
Well, just so you know, this session is streamed. You can see Engineer Theophilus if you check on Facebook and YouTube. It's streamed currently on Facebook and on YouTube at WORIN Nigeria on both platforms. You'll be able to see Engineer Theophilus so that you understand what I was trying to say earlier. But good to have you in the house,
Thank
Engineer.
you so much.
All right, Mr. Peter, please let's get a brief introduction of yourself and your journey so far in the industry.
All right. I remember myself, John Peter Alter. I'm a science laboratory technologist by training, but I'm practicing. I'm a decorator. by practice.
Amazing.
I began as an apprentice. I learned painting. From painting, I graduated to other part of the decoration. That's why I call myself a decorator, not just a painter, as everybody will call. So I've been in painting industry for over 16 years.
Wow.
And God has been faithful. From an apprentice, I've grew to establish my own company, which is Asian Nigeria Limited. Where God is helping us, and we are still growing.
16 years is a long time. 16-year-old child is preparing to, maybe he's writing jam at the moment. So good to have you in the house. Thank you so much for offering your time to be with us today. Right, Mr. Fregene is here in the building. This is his first time. We had Mr. Peter and Engineer Theophilus last week, but Mr. Fregene, this is his first time. Please, can you introduce yourself and just talk to us about your journey so far in the industry?
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Like you said, my name is Monday Fregene. I'm from Delta State. So I have like 5 years experience in this job. Started as an apprentice, finished, and now I'm working as a boss of my own. I have boys that are working under me, right? So I think that's just it for now. Thank
you so much. You know, anywhere you see a Delta person mentioning that is from Delta, usually you say Delta State, Nigeria. That is the first time I'm not hearing Nigeria added to the Delta State, but good to have you in the house today. So all right, so straight to the question still, let me go with Mr. Peter, right? What are those common challenges? Let's start from there. What are those challenges that you feel artisans face? Let's look at the part of artisans now. I think artisans face on site that needs really to be addressed.
Okay, it's all right. I think we discussed some of them last week, and maybe I will still bring some of them for those that were not able to connect last week. I think if you ask every artisan, the first they will tell you is payment.
Payment.
Artisan experience poor payment sometimes. Sometimes I think maybe the client thinks that an artisan is not supposed to be rich. Maybe an artisan is supposed to just survive, get small money, eat and live in maybe as far as Kaduna Road, or live in Gwagwalada. Because with the kind of payment the artisan receives, they might not be able to live within the town. So I think it's number one challenges that artisans face. And secondly, again, is lack of payment. Sometimes you might agree on a payment terms and you finish your job, to collect the money will become another problem. So I think those are some of the challenges. As we continue, maybe I'll bring some of them.
Yeah, we'll be able to explore more. Okay, so still on that, on artisans, let me ask Mr. Fregene, what do you think are the common challenges that artisans face? So personally, what are those challenges that you faced, working on site for 5 years, Yes. What are some of those challenges that are prevalent, that have been, reoccurring, that you've been facing on site?
Okay, thank you so much. First of all, I'm just going to talk about one, which is very, very important.
Yeah.
And I believe, I believe everything involves around that one. which is lack of proper communication.
Okay.
And I'm going to break it down in two parts. One is lack of proper communication from we, the artisans, then lack of proper communication from the clients. So now, in a situation whereby a client have a particular design of which he wants you to do in his house, right? Or maybe in a sitting room. And that design might be bigger than the particular place where you want you to do it. So it is left for we now to communicate, proper communication, that is to communicate to the client that, this will not be able to enter this room. So it's better we do a change of design or we cut part of the design so that it will be able to fit in the room.
Yeah.
But if we can't communicate it properly at that point, you now go and maybe do it just the way you feel is going to work, right? At the end of the day, the client might come back and say, this is not what we agreed. But whereas you should have communicated it to him. So I think that will bring issues, which will result to maybe not giving you your balance, something like that.
Of course.
So now, sorry, I'm having kata. So now the second part, which is lack of proper communication from the client. Maybe the client might not have gathered all the designs that he wants. Like maybe you have already started the work. Late design changes, that's what I'll call it, late design changes. Maybe after the work has been going for a while, you have done like 2 places. Then the client will now come back and say, I saw something.
On Google.
Exactly, you get the point. I saw something on Google. This is what, why are you guys not putting cutting boxes? You understand?
Yeah.
And he didn't communicate it at first. So it will now want, we workers now, we cannot go back and start cutting all of those things. Of which if he wants us to do it, we need to add money to our...
Yes, to affect the cost.
Yes. So I think that's one of the major challenges that challenge we used to have, like lack of proper communication.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So let me ask the engineer, right? Mr. Peter mentioned payment. And I think part of the ways that we can curb these challenges to understand if there is a standard. Is there any standard anywhere? I know you've been working with artisans here. As an engineer, you have the responsibility sometimes of employing artisans and then overseeing the payment. Is there a standard that an artisan is supposed to take at the end of the day?
So it depends on how you look at it and what kind of job the artisan is doing. But for the average tax an artisan comes to do on site, there are rates, right? There are general rates that that apply. If you are coming to do POP for me, there is a rate that we can negotiate on per square meter. If you are coming to tile the floor, we can agree on rates per square meter. If you are coming to lay blocks, we can even agree on price per. There are rates, there are acceptable rates generally. Now, sometimes depending on the excellence and the level of competence of the artisans, you can, an artisan can price even above the acceptable rate. Now, these things are not written anywhere, but it's an open market, so there is an equilibrium price where that is acceptable generally. And if you are picking up an artisan to work for you per day, there are rates too, how much you pay an average artisan to work on you per day, So those rates exist actually. Those rates are there. They change as the economic situation change over time and all that. When I was in labor back then, I think it's 1,000 naira per day or so then. But now an average laborer takes, I think, 5,000, 6,000 naira per day. So you see, there is that, but it changes over time. And depending on who you are working for and the context and all that. I think it also changes also with the organization you are working with. When somebody you are working with in an organized company, construction company, sometimes they employ the artisans, as staffs, and they pay them weekly. So there is that variation, but generally there are rates. The rates are there, and you can always find out before you can engage.
So let me still put it to you. Let me direct this question to you. Why do you think there is the challenge of poor payment, like Mr. Peter was mentioning, and this is a challenge actually? How do you think this challenge of poor payment?
Thank you for that. Very honestly, I would say, first there is let me go a little bit intellectual about this. First of all, the law of demand and supply. We have a lot of artisans, especially in Abuja. There are many artisans, and that automatically does something to the premium that the average clients will put on artisans. So once the demand, there's a lot of supply for labor or anything, automatically it has a way of crashing down the price that people will pay for it. So that's one side. The other side again is that, and so it creates, and that also tells you about the perception, the value that people attach to artisans like that. Then, but the other side again is that I think Peter mentioned the last time we were here is the self-esteem of the average artisan. And I think it's not just true for artisans; it's true for many people, many professionals in the industry, especially if you are just coming up. There is that phobia not to lose the job. So you can almost agree on anything just to be on the job, you know. And what that creates is that it makes the client sometimes to bully. You are bullied into doing the job at a very ridiculous amount.
And it's just dangerous to the entire ecosystem.
Exactly. Yeah. And if you don't do it, somebody comes to do it. So you get the point. So you feel like, as the last person did it for me, accessory. So what is it about this thing?
Yeah, what's so
special about it? And then we live in a country where there are no regulations, there are no industry standards being followed. Even as an engineer, you can go to site today and see, you know, all kinds of people handling projects. We don't want to go into the details. How much more talking about, you know, somebody waking up and he's an electrician. He woke up today. Who trained you? Where is your certification? Where is your license? There's not even license for operating in all this industry. Not minding the risks associated with them. So all these gaps makes it that so you don't have that we have. And then many artisans sometimes, you know, they assume they have it in their idea. They know what it takes. And then sometimes you go in and then nobody to protect you. And all those things. So the factors are many, but I think these ones are principal.
So I'm saying that there's a need for a structure that will protect, you know, both the artisans and protect the clients.
Exactly.
In the sense that the artisan should be able to get value, receive value for the value he's offering, and then the client is supposed to receive value for the money that he's releasing.
In an organized system, that's how it should be. But you see, most times as I've seen this, especially around this part of the world, that, you know, we like to get it easy, the shortest way out, the easiest way out, the cheapest way out. And so very few people even engage engineers now to get artisans. They rather get the artisans by themselves, you know, just to cut the cost. And you do those things and then it boomerangs and it backfires and then everybody is crying at the end of the day. Structure does a lot. If you are not, for instance, you know, thank God for what you do, gaps like this have to be covered. If we leave them like that, the problems we keep experiencing, we'll keep experiencing them. You know, if you're an artisan is not happy or he has issues, you can almost be guaranteed that the job done for you is not a good job, no matter how it looks at the surface. Do you understand? But when an artisan is happy with the job and everything is going well, if he does anything wrong, it now becomes a problem with his personal integrity. Do you get the point? But the moment the artisan is maybe intimidated, or you know how to do the job for the price that is not it, or you finish the job, your money is not coming out, they are tempted to want to do something wrong. And I think I mentioned here the last time, because they work with their physical strength most of the time, there are excuses that they don't take. They don't think the way the average person thinks. Oh, I'll pay you tomorrow. It doesn't make sense to you. I work today, why tomorrow? So some of those things, and that's why you see artisans do very irrational things, especially if you work with the uneducated ones. You know, laborers on site, casting and all those. You do something on a very small, something very trivial. You'll be amazed at the catastrophe they will cause for you on site. So I think these are things that we...
Well, I think it's safe to say at this point, that this is majorly why WORIN was created.
Lovely.
But if you look at WORIN Nigeria, you know, you will see the slogan. It is workers one click away. Workers one click away. So the idea is you have a site going on. As an engineer, you know, you can request for artisans, right? As a client, like the owner of the site, you can request even for engineers. So it's both for professionals. You know, professionals are, when we say professionals, we're talking about those that like the engineer, those ones that will obtain it by training, like they go to school to obtain that certification, right? So you have the architects, you have the quantity surveyors, and then you have the engineers, especially the ones that have that are current certified, right? Those ones we consider as engineers, You can have those ones on the platform, and still you can have the artisans, the screeders, the builders, that's the masons now, the tilers, the POP, the plumbers. You can have all of them on that So the idea is to protect the interest of the artisans and the professionals, that's the workers, and then to still protect the interest of the client, so that these things are mitigated. Yeah. So, but I would like to push still to let's talk to Mr. Peter one more time, right? You know, when you're able to spot a challenge, right? Part of the graces that comes with spotting the challenge is sometimes the ability to solve them when you pay attention to, right? And working for this long, 16 years, you said, yeah, we've seen. I know you've seen situations where payments they are not coming forth as required, as expected rather, right? I know you've seen some of those situations. What do you think will bring a final solution to some of these challenges for those artisans that are just freelancers?
Yeah, I think what client needs to do is, when you look at the other part of the war, there are contract agreements. But in Nigeria, we don't have that. Somebody will just call you, come and give me code for this. You give him code. There will be no terms for payment. He won't say anything about payment. You will come, maybe you work today, the next day, you will come and look at it and just say, take 20,000. There is no, how did you quantify your work? Nobody knows. So there should be an agreement. Okay, this job, how long will it take? 1 week. How much is the money? 100,000. Okay, in 1 week, 100,000. There should be an agreement. From so percentage to so percentage of the job, this is what you will pay.
Yes.
This is it. At the end of the job, this is what you collect. So I think that should be the best. If we can have this written, not just verbally.
Yes.
Sometimes we just say it, okay, what can you hold? If somebody, you work for someone, a client now, and the client did not pay, you don't have any evidence. The client can even say you have not worked for him. What is your proof? Nothing. So I think we need to work on, there should be an agreement written. Okay, this job, this is how we're going to pay. First payment, I will give you 50%. For instance, maybe. Second payment, I'll give you 30%. At the end, I give you 20%. There should be that. If we can be able to develop that between client and artisan, between professionals and artisans, because sometimes engineers are paid artisans.
Yes.
So it's not always clients sometimes. So even engineers, they know this, but they don't want to do it because they want to use that trick to still press the artisan. To be sincere, engineers knows it. They knows it because they pass through, they train them on that. So they know all those terms. But sometimes they will not want to do it. And even companies, construction companies, some they don't do it. And when they are collecting their contract from government, they do all those. There's agreement. This is how, okay, we are paying you per kilometer. All those things, they do it. But when they want to give you the job now, they will not do that. They will just, oh yeah, come and do this way. You're going to do it. And so I think we need to always have contract agreement. And I'm going to advise artisans. There are some things you don't wait for someone to tell you. These things, I learned it myself. I was not trained. Nobody taught me this. I learned it. I study. I make research to know all this. So you should be able to know when you are working. You should be able to know the level where you will request for money. You can't start work today and you collect money. Tomorrow, you are requesting for another money. Next tomorrow. It don't make sense. So when you are working, make sure you collect something reasonable that will take you maybe 4 days, 5 days to pay your boys. After 5 days, by the time you make another request, the person will think, yeah, it's reasonable for him to give another money. So you shouldn't be collecting every day. So it's both sides.
Okay, so before I come back to Mr. Fregene, I think I will direct this question to engineer.
Okay.
Yeah, engineer, you've interfaced, like I said, with artisans for a while. The question I would like to ask is, how does it feel, working with an artisan that is, for the lack of a better word now, let's say educated, right? That have gone to school, maybe like Mr. Peter, that is not practicing, what he studied, that he's now in the industry. How does it feel, working with people like that, and then people that do not really? Is there any impact of education?
The difference is clear, man. The difference, the gap is like night and day. There are value systems. When you see someone who is educated, now education does not always translate, like literacy does not always translate to being enlightened and all that. But the difference is always clear. It's easier for you to communicate. I know he mentioned also, and I think we mentioned the last time, communication is a major issue on site. It's a very serious issue because sometimes, you don't, even if you don't understand technical terms, that you are literate, you can read, you can write, you can understand basic stuffs, it makes a lot of things easier. How you appreciate tools, the working tools is a function of your level of enlightenment. How you appreciate, even act of safety. The average person who is not educated does not take safety for anything for serious. But inside, safety is first. Yes. Do you see that? So some of those gaps are there. You can't compare, quite honestly. Now, it's possible for someone who is not enlightened, who did not go to school in our context now, to evolve, right? To grow, to evolve, to work on himself, yes. to come up, to do very well. There's that possibility. But most of the times, when someone is enlightened, it makes it easier. At least it takes away the communication gap. Yeah. You see that, and then it also creates. It gives there's that sense of personal leadership. That it adds to it. That sense of personal leadership, and it makes it easier to manage and to control the person. Because one of your jobs as a project manager, as a site engineer, is managing the people. So they are a little bit easier to manage. I know that when it comes to character, integrity, and stuff like that, even skill, it doesn't answer to school. You know what I'm talking about. Sometimes when it comes to competence and character, it doesn't come to school. But when it comes to team working as a team, coordination, site management and stuff like that, it's always easier with someone who is educated.
Yeah. So I will need you to really drive this conversation to land it.
Okay.
So I will ask you this question to help you land it.
Okay.
What do you think a person that did not really have the opportunity of having a formal education,
yeah.
what do you think the person can do to bridge this gap, to actually play on almost at the same level with?
Okay, yeah. So two things, maybe two, or if time permits, I'll make it three.
Sorry, so this is for our artisans listening. Of course, yeah. this is bonus for you.
So thank you. I think I really feel the plight of the average freelancing artisan, especially those who are trying to just make ends meet and all those things. First thing I would advise is, and I think I said it the last time, identify with an engineer. One or at least two, at the most 2, 3. Don't crowd yourself around too many people. Identify with an engineer that loves you and that you love and that you've come to understand yourselves and you can work together with. These things rub off. Yes. Do you understand? There are persons that have never gone to school. They don't know the 4 walls of school. Yeah. They can't read and write, but they understand. They can literally, implement a drawing when it comes to form. Do you see? So you see that. So when you work closely with someone who is educated, you may not be educated in yourself, but it can rub off. These things can rub off. That's one. So identify with someone and stick. Whether it's bitter, it's almost like marriage. Whether it's sweet or bitter, I'll stay there. You know what I'm talking about. I have one of my favorite Masin, Shuaibu. Somebody else can call him for a job. He will say, talk to my engineer. He will always so now that's also another side I will have gone to, more than just the issue of education or playing alongside those who are at the top. When you identify with someone, it protects you, right? It protects you from the bully that comes with people seeing that you're not educated and trying to sell you off very easily. So that's one. Number 2, take advantage of platforms like WORIN, that offers. I think I was at one of your trainings some time ago. So every time you see opportunities for trainings like this, always show up. Identify with platforms like that and always upskill. Even we who went to school are still trying to learn more on what we, last night I think I was on YouTube learning a few things. It's typical, right? So if you are the average artisan these days use a smartphone, that means you can learn. These things are there. There. You can learn on YouTube, you can learn on Pinterest. The platforms are there. So identify with a structured learning platform if there are. If otherwise, your phone can always help you and all those. And if there's anything, I will mention 3. Identify people around you, people who are doing better than you in the same trade. There are engineers that I look up to unashamedly. I follow them doggedly, and I think it's a principle that they can also implement at their own level. These things, I repeat again, they rub off. It rubs off. So, and who you follow matters. What follows determines what follows you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yes, so I hope we're learning something. Well, I think it's safe to say at this point that the phone lines will be opened, to just get your observations, your contributions, and then your contributions, your observations, and questions. Right, all of our guys in the studio are here to do justice to all of these questions that you have. We are here. We'll be more than happy to receive your contributions. And so I'll call out the the line you can call us on. It is 081 30 60 85 27. This is the studio line. You can call right away. 081 30 60 85 27. I'll call you one more time. 081 30 60 85 27. So while we anticipate calls and the rest, we would like to talk to Mr. Fregene. Mr. Fregene, right? How does he feel managing? You mentioned earlier that you have some boys working with you. How does it feel managing, being an artisan yourself? Managing, training others and managing at the same time. So maybe before you answer that question, we have a call. Let's answer this call. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello. Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, please, let's get your name and where you're calling us from.
Okay, my name is Tunde. I'm calling from Lubi.
Lugbe. Okay, good. Please, let's get your contribution.
Yeah, my contribution, I overheard everything was said, but there is a lot of things that that some people don't really understand about some engineers and some artisans. Like in the place I just worked recently, the engineer feels superior. Even when he makes mistakes, the artisan knows that he feels superior to the fact that he doesn't want to accept correction. And sometimes it makes me artisan look as if we are inferior. So when you try to talk to some engineers, like some of them are not even capable of handling the job, but you see them with that certificate. So some of them even pull us more than the owner of the job. The owner of the job will respect artisans than engineers. So we have problem with engineers. Mostly we the artisans, like doing the iron work. There are some reinforcement in the building that this is not supposed to be. There are mistakes, but they will make you do it because they think they are superior than you, and at the end of it, there are the mistakes. So those people, how do you deal with them, sir?
Okay, thank you so much for that, for the call. Thank you so much. Our engineer will answer to that. Thank you. Okay, so Mr. Fregene, before we come back to you, this feels like a pressing matter. So I'll forward it to Engineer Theophilus. How do you reply this caller?
Yeah, these are facts. I believe he's talking from experience. I've witnessed situations like that. And that's why I think I'll go back to my earlier conversation, my earlier formula. Every engineer will advise, every artisan at the same time you should build relationships with people. If I'm working with an artisan, even if I'm working with you for the first time, I'm interested in learning as much as I can from you. I've learned things from artisans, quite honestly. A lot of things, and all those things. So learning does not end in the classroom. And then when you accept an idea from an artisan, it doesn't make you inferior. It doesn't make you less than them. However, you should also be able to draw the line between when artisans are just talking. sometimes this experience thing, okay, I've done it 10 years, I've done it 100 times. Artisans have that thing. Okay, I've been doing this before you were born. It doesn't change the fact. Sometimes, there are things, quite honestly, as an artisan you just will not understand. You can't just say the iron should be this way, should be that way. The engineer is not thinking that way. The engineer is thinking from the standpoint of the stresses that the building will be exposed to. He's thinking from the standpoint of the forces that are playing out, the moment and all that is happening there. So I feel like a relationship is more important, is a solution. Have a relationship, build a relationship with these people. There is nothing wrong with learning from your artisans, and there is nothing wrong with artisans learning from the engineer and all that.
Thank you so much. So I'll come back to you, Mr. Fregene, quickly, maybe in the next 2 minutes. Yeah, how does it feel, managing, having your staff working with you and then still taking jobs actively? How does it feel? How do you manage these situations?
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I would say it's not easy. It has not been easy because there are so many challenges that will want to come up. But like I said, everything involves around communication, proper communication. Since I'm an artisan and I'm also having an artisan working under me, so I've already had the experience, right? Some of the experiences the challenges that we may have working with clients. So I always put myself in their shoes, right? So as to make them all right and to also make sure I communicate properly to my clients. So it's not something that I would say is easy at all.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. So quickly, our time is fast spent today. I would like to just point to us, just to remind us still that this conversation continues offline, right? On Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, on LinkedIn. We are there at WORIN Nigeria on all platforms. So you have questions, you have contributions, please go drop us DMs, drop replies on these streams that are going on live now on YouTube and on Facebook, and then we'll be able to, respond appropriately. And still to add that there's a WhatsApp number you can reach us on, strictly WhatsApp, and which is 09077481210. I'll take it one more time, 09077481210. So I will get to all of our guests in the house quickly in the next 1 minute if you can, right? Less than 1 minute if you can. Can we just get final words, Engineer Theophilus, your final words for today?
All right, I would say, artisans, and this is to all artisans, especially freelancers. The future is really bright for us, but let's work on that structure. Find a system that can guarantee you continuous growth, that can protect you, and that will guarantee your payments, and going forward, work with a structured system. It will go a long way to save a lot of stress.
Yeah, and I would gladly recommend WORIN Nigeria.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Fregene, quickly your last words for today before we leave the studio.
Okay, what I would say is that I will still point on communication, right? If you can communicate properly, at first, I think there will be no issue, because most of the issue we do have is lack of proper communication.
Yeah. So I'll add to that: seek to be understood and try to understand. Yeah. So, Mr. Peter, please your final words for today.
What I would advise artisan is please be up to date. Don't just depend on what you know yesterday. The world is revolving. So learn something and make sure you're good in what you're doing. If you're good in what you're doing, charge very well. They might not give you that one, but tomorrow they will call you back.
Another one will come. It's never the end. Thank you so much, listeners, for being a part of the show today. It's been an interesting one. And like I said, conversations continue off air on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, all social media platforms. We are there at WORIN Nigeria. Thank you for being a part of the show. We'll be here next week, Monday, 12:30 p.m., still on Armed Forces Radio 107.7. My name still remains Strength Douglas. Have a very good afternoon.
Documents here to prove that it is mine. This land is not your own, no. Oga, you better go and look for your own land. See my own document here. I don't pay for this land, did it? Now my name did the documents like this.